along with the demand that's coming from both institution and retail, has this started to step XRP up to the level of what's happening in the Bitcoin and ETH ETFs?
I think that we're moving in that direction, right? I think that there is a very interesting story playing out around stablecoins. XRP is one of the only chains that also has its own stablecoin, right? The RLUSD. And I think that that adds a new element to what they might be able to do in terms of building business around the chain. Don't forget, I think one of the most exciting prospects of these new rails is going to be the vast increase in the number of computer-to-computer transactions that are going to start to occur as we see more people get comfortable with Web3 models, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you have your own stablecoin and you've got this chain that is already a public chain that has an independent verification network operating around it, this starts to become, I think, a pretty interesting business case, which is why we've been looking to partner with and doing more with Ripple over the last couple of years. Don't forget, they had some challenges here in the US while that lawsuit was on.
Sure.
And outside the US, they've been continuing to build their business dramatically. We operate globally, so we've been engaged with them in Asia for some time, and now we're seeing that start to spread out to more regions of the world.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news channel, Good Evening Crypto. And what we're breaking down today, the XRP short squeeze is happening as we speak. We're also going to show you guys the data and analytics behind the $40 billion evaluation with Ripple, as the XRP escrow was not included in the $40 billion evaluation. This opens the floodgates for ideas because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what Ripple has their intentions of for the escrow. I'm going to show you guys some connections behind the scenes that lead me to believe, once again, Ripple may have pre-allocated huge chunks of this escrow, and that could have been the plan the entire time. But I'm starting off today's episode with this brand new video. As we're going through some sideways trading, some boring trading action in the market today, I think it's very important to kind of highlight the long-term emphasis of where we are. There was a great tweet that was put out by a Ripple employee earlier today, and they were talking about how 2026 is the most bullish setup for digital assets that we have ever seen. And we're feeling it in the crypto space where retail investors are tapped out while institutions are just starting to tap in. Well, what we're seeing right now is that XRP's institutional interest is outpacing Bitcoin, it's outpacing Ethereum, and it's separating itself from basically every other digital asset in the space today. Now, one of the things that we witnessed over the past week or so was that Bitcoin has been extremely volatile. And I wanted to give you guys a primary example of how the market makers manipulate retail traders and get them fearful when they should be buying, and they get them greedy when they should be selling. This is another very short-term example of just that. Bitcoin dumped $2,000 from 89.7 to 87.7, liquidating $171 million worth of longs. In the exact same time frame, it then pumped $3,500, going from 87.7 thousand to 91.2 thousand, liquidating $75 million worth of shorts. This all happened in just a 4-hour time frame, but it's another example of manipulation on low liquidity weekend, wiping out both the leverage longs and the leverage shorts. And like I highlighted for today's episode, we're going to be covering the XRP short squeeze that I believe it's setting itself up right now. But there's more data that actually funnels into this. When we look at some of the big predictions we've witnessed out of people like Tom Lee or people like Michael Saylor, what is their intention here? Their intention is to get more people to buy these assets and hold them for the long term. And what I think we're witnessing right now is that exact same shift in sentiment happened for the XRP community, where Ethereum investors and Bitcoin investors and Solana investors, they're capitulating massively right now on the narrative that they've told us for a long time, which is XRP is a stable coin, Ripple's an illegitimate company, the underlying asset XRP is a security of Ripple. All of those misconceptions have been proven as just that, a misconception here in the crypto space. And as you heard from Franklin Templeton's head of digital assets at the beginning of today's episode, she's stating that they've been working with Ripple for years, and now that the regulatory headwinds are behind them, they're anticipating major adoption for the XRP ledger specifically. But we already got 1,500 live listeners, guys, 885 watching on YouTube. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I do want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everybody who shows up here on a daily basis. And somebody said Abs will be 8 minutes late this morning. I was 7 minutes late. So we're going to keep on rocking here. I am late every single day. But the reality is I use that time to prep the show and make sure everything's perfect before I kick off the episode. So it works in your favor for all the people who get a little bit annoyed by the 5 or 6 minutes that you got to wait. one thing is absolutely clear. I am here every single day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, and I give you a Saturday and Sunday update. So show me another channel where their content creator is live in the morning for an hour, does the 5:30 p.m. update, and does it 7 days a week. You tell me the name, I'll shout them out here on Good Evening Crypto as well. But let's get into some of the breaking news for today's episode. The XRP short squeeze that I believe is setting itself up and happening as we speak. What are we looking at right now? XRP has the most aggressive short position in the crypto market today. Traders are heavily net short on majors, with XRP showing almost no long support at all. So what does this mean? Nobody is betting on positive price action for the XRP community. And I find that to be really funny because, again, institutional interest is at an all-time high for the XRP ledger, and it's retail investors who are more fearful than ever. And I wanted to show you guys a really cool website that I've been using. This is the XRP Investor. And I showed you guys this a couple of weeks ago, created by our good friend Mar-a-Lago Mario. I was able to see him this weekend. We had some great discussions as well. But what are we looking at on the Fear and Greed Index for the XRP Analytics dashboard? We're getting up to neutral, guys, and that is separating itself from the crypto market. It appears that XRP has found a very solid level of support at $2, and I'm beginning to think that we are going to get this major uptick towards the beginning of 2026 post-Clarity Act because the chart structure is showing us something very similar to what we witnessed back in 2017, and I think this is a great example right here. What we need to see is some of this institutional demand really lead to a supply shock moment. And the data and analytics that we've been tracking here on the Good Evening Crypto podcast is we're talking about the ETFs absorbing the exchanges and the OTC's reserves for the XRP token. Well, that's really getting kicked into overdrive. And Zach Rector did a great video, I think it was last night or earlier this morning, where he said the XRP accumulation has accelerated. And that's not just a headline, that's the reality of the situation, because earlier today, I'm going to show you guys XRP is the only digital asset with major inflows happening. Bitcoin has outflows. Ethereum has outflows. Solana, maybe it has $20-30 million worth of inflows. XRP is doing $200 million north of inflows on a daily basis. Something we haven't seen before and we may never see again. This is that big supply shock moment we've all been predicting, and it's setting up a very similar structure to what occurred back in 2017. Now, Chart Nerd commented on Twitter here, this structure is uncanny. The only difference is the fractal market positioning. The 2017 accumulation was during a bear market. The 2025 accumulation was during a bull market. Now we're patiently waiting for this price to pay off. And I want to hear from the live chat, guys. One's in chat if you believe that XRP is about to do something historic. And we're going to leave that kind of open-ended. But let's just say, do you believe XRP breaks all-time high in the first quarter of 2026? One's for yes, two's for no. I say yes. And I want to give a big shout out to the long game, bro, for the $5 donation. Clarity Act will restrict Ripple's ownership of XRP to 20%. Ripple has plans in place for the escrow guaranteed. Love that comment right there. Now, again, what is the topic for today's episode? Ripple got a $40 billion evaluation on their company when they were funding from Vanguard and so on. And the XRP escrow was not included in that $40 billion evaluation. Why would that be the case? If Ripple truly had, call it 40 billion XRP tokens, maybe $80 billion worth of value, don't you think they would leverage that? Don't you think they would use that to say, hey, we're a $100 billion company pre-IPO? That's not what happened. And I think it has something to do with this great comment right here, where the Clarity Act is going to restrict ownership of a blockchain. Nobody can own more than 20% of an asset after the Clarity Act, or it's considered centralized. If Ripple goes in and owns 40% of the XRP tokens, by definition, it is a centralized entity. And that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself. But this is a great comment. Big thank you for the $4.99, my friend. This person, White Collar Trucker, back at it again. He said, is there a way to track Vanguard inflows for 2 XRP ETFs? Yes, there absolutely is. And one of the great things about the XRP Investor website here, this is totally free, guys. I have it linked underneath the video. You guys can check it out. Gives you all the data and analytics, but also if you scroll down, it'll track the inflows for each individual project. Now, I haven't seen the 2X Vanguard product that you're talking about, so I'm not gonna be able to report that live right now. But if you want to, click on the free link below for the XRP Investor, and you guys can track all this data. I'm only gonna show you products that I use, and that's why I talk about ITrust. That's why I talk about Johnny Krypto's Merlin product. And this is one that I'm using. It's completely free. You can click on the link below. And then I think there's like some sort of a $4 product, and that'll give you some premiums, but that's not even what we're using here. We're just using the base product here on Good Evening Crypto. Now, we did just pass 2,500 live listeners, guys. If you're enjoying this content, you want to help out the channel, show us some love, smash that like button. I want to give a big thank you as we already passed 312 likes on the episode. But even more importantly, guys, I gotta tell you, the ice bath video is out for our members out there. So big thank you. We're up to 254 members, I believe, on the Good Evening Crypto community. What do you guys get? You get Sunday morning updates. You get all this stuff. Somebody said, Abs, are you not involved with Merlin anymore? I thought you were a co-creator. I am involved with Merlin. I don't know if I said that. I am a co-creator. I am an owner of Merlin, and we talk about it every day. But Johnny Krypto's a CEO. So I always say the Merlin app is Johnny Krypto's. You got to give credit where credit is due. GEC is mine, right? We're talking about who does all the work here. It's your boy Abs. When you talk about Merlin, it's your boy Johnny Krypto. And I want to give a big thank you to Todd Martin for the $10. 5-ish XRP on me, my friend. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate that. And this guy, I think he found us last year, Todd. You're a great personality. Always appreciate you being here. And being here since Good Morning Crypto. Shout out to the OGs out there. Now, Mr. QX said, love content, unlike Marcus Lucas Investor. Not sure what the bashing on Jake. Listen, we're never going to bash on Jake because here's the reality. I think Jake has been right about a ton of the stuff he's been predicting. The Clarity Act, the ETFs, the supply shock narrative, the Japanese carry trade. I've also got some information in regards to that, and I'm bouncing around a lot here, but kind of a lot to break down during today's episode, where the Japanese interest rate just reached, and I want to be able to find this data and report it accurately for you guys, but it reached the highest level since 1998. I believe it's like 2.9%. Somebody can check that on their treasury bonds. Please report that in chat. I'll pull it up on the show. But the truth is that this is exactly what Jake has been outlining for a really long time. And Seattle Supersonic said, online, there's no mercy. Shout out to you, my right? That's 100%. But I always say, guys, if you have a platform, right, it's totally ignorant to say, I'm going to have a platform and nobody's allowed to criticize me. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, my friends. If you're going to make content on YouTube, there's going to be haters, especially when you're doing price predictions and things of that nature. So that's just part of the game. It's like trying to play football, being like, I'm going to go to the NFL, but I'm unwilling to get hit. That's part of the game, my friend. You got to be able to put your head down and drive through those linebackers. But with that being said, let's get into the actual content that we had prepared for you guys. We do have over, I can't even check it in the background right now, thousands of live listeners. So if you're enjoying it, hit that content. And here's some bullish information, not just for XRP, but for the entire crypto space. So, this is just reported today. The Federal Reserve is expected to begin a buyback of all-time high, $45 billion worth of debt each month beginning in January. And you're reading this correctly, guys. The Fed stopped quantitative tightening. They are now in quantitative easing. They're going to be adding assets to their balance sheet, and that starts with the United States Treasury bonds. Now, why is this good? It adds buy pressure to all markets. But let's read the actual details here. We are out of consensus early inside, said Mark Cabana in an early client note that wrote the estimated Fed buyback of at least $20 billion per month for natural balance sheet growth and another $25 billion to reverse the reserve over drain. This is going to be happening for at least the first 6 months of 2026. And I was quickly reminded of that video we saw from Brad Garlinghouse on stage. I forget what the name of the event was. It was the Binance event that I had showed you guys last week. And I've got so much prep in the background. I'm just going to have to do this live on air and find that video where he says 2026 is setting itself up to be the most bullish year yet. Johnny Krypto wearing the Bailey blue. Shout out to you, my friend. Now, what's really awesome for Johnny Krypto is this comment right here. Now, Johnny, he's all about the exclusive content. This is something I'm going to tease him about for the time being, because one of the things that people know about myself, I'm a recluse, right? I love to do the show. Besides that, you don't see any of the personal life. Johnny Krypto, he's top off on the internet, running down the beat, slow motion, fast motion. He's reporting the Monopoly game. So shout out to you, my friend. More importantly, we are going to break down some serious news. The XRP short squeeze I did report on, but listen to this, Johnny. Ripple's $40 billion evaluation did not include the escrow. So we're going to break down what that means. And one of our listeners commented a great comment here, just kind of building on all this and kicking it to you. The Clarity Act will restrict Ripple's ownership of XRP at 20%, because if any company owns more than 20%, or any entity, I should say, it's a centralized blockchain post Clarity Act. So Ripple has plans in place for the escrow, and he says guaranteed. I actually very much agree with that. And so Yeah, pretty cool. I'm going to break that down. Johnny Krypto, floor is yours. Thank you for being here, my friend. How you feeling on this Monday?
Feeling good, Abs, and good morning to all the crypto maniacs out there. We love and appreciate them for showing up every single day. No doubt about it. You know what? If you got in that cold water, whoever made that comment, you'd be in and out quick too, whoever that was. It was like 40 degrees, freezing cold, wind blowing 23 miles per hour. It was like, what, 23-degree wind chill factor, Abs? And you know what? We still got in there, and we did it for all you members. We love and appreciate you guys. But, getting now onto the crypto stuff, at the end of the day, I've always felt the Clarity Act is going to be a game changer for this whole entire space and how it impacts Ripple, the escrow, this, that, guys. I wouldn't get too hung up on that part of it. The point of it is, when you looked at what happened in 97, 98, it didn't matter. Fundamentals don't matter when you're in a speculation world, a speculation play. So this is, it's not as critical until you get into the fundamental side of it. And that is exactly what's gonna, I believe, happen is, like I said, dude, you could have invested in anything in 97 and you would have made a shit ton of money if you had a profit plan. Unfortunately, I didn't. I had a sell all plan, and that wasn't a smart move. But so that's the way to think about it, is the Clarity is going to do two things. It's going to do exactly what it's named. It's going to bring clarity to the space. But more importantly, I think it's going to light off the biggest speculative market in crypto history that we've ever seen. And it'll probably also put an end to all the 4-year cycle bull runs as this becomes more of a. And you know what? When you talk to Raul Paul, it's not even about the bull runs. It's all about what he calls the reset of the debt cycle. And that may still continue, and you still may see that kind of behavior in the markets anyway. But I think from a perspective of kicking off a speculative bull run market like you ain't never seen before, I think we need the Clarity Act to make that happen, Abs. Yeah.
What's great about all this, Johnny Krypto, and I'm going to kick it to you before we get into another XRP topic here, is this right here. Jake Claver being proven correct on the reverse carry trade. Now, again, people are being critical of Jake. I think we got to give Jake a lot of credit here. And that's why I'm so into the reporting that I've done on this channel when it comes to his sentiment, because he's been right about a lot of the macro analysis. And what we're witnessing right now in Japan is that reverse carry trade beginning to play out. Now, this data really speaks for itself. Japan's 20-year bond yield hits 2.947%, the highest level since 1998. Now, for the first time ever, Johnny, I'll admit, 98, your boy was in diapers, right? So we can skip that line and leave it on the sidelines. But you've talked about the reverse carry trade for a really long time. And I remember our conversations that we had behind the scenes where you were telling me, you're like, Abs, I remember this narrative all the way back in the 2008 crisis. Mm-hmm. I remember it in 2012. So maybe you could speak to that just a little bit briefly here. What does it mean to you that the Japanese 20-year is reaching the highest levels? We had the 10-year approaching its highest levels. We've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. What does that mean to you as somebody who's seen it before?
I could tell you in my lifetime when it was all the way back then at the highs back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the world didn't end. Nothing went crazy. It wasn't the end of the world like they're promising now and all that. At the end of the day, like, first of all, look, these things don't happen overnight. And I'm not a financial expert, not financial advisor, right? But I'm just looking at it from an outsider in, and I look at it and say, we all can see it happening. We all like when Jake called it, shout out to him for calling it, but like people could see it was already happening. These things, the interest rates don't go from 0 to 2 overnight. They go up a quarter point, an eighth of a point overnight. You don't think smart money doesn't see that coming? You don't think smart money hasn't already repositioned themselves to be able to? Of course they do, right? Now, what happens is the smart money positions itself however it wants to do it. Then they release the news, oh my God, the Japan carry trade is over. Like, no shit, it's been over for 2 years. But they're going to actually make it sound like this big thing that happened overnight. And then there'll be instant panic in the market. Everything will crash down for a week. And they'll reset a whole new type of trade. And I think the world will just continue to move on, and that'll be the end of it. I think it's going to be a big old nothing burger. Maybe it'll be like a big old 3-week burger, and then it will be over. That's my guess of what I think will happen. But, Jake's theory, you have to understand, isn't just about the carry trade. It's a bunch of different factors that all need to happen at the same time. The carry trade unwinding, oil prices going skyrocketing through the moon, Clarity Act not happening, all this happening before the Clarity Act gets passed, and all these things, and then the financial system crashing and needing a replacement. So all these things need to line up. And if they do, that, we had Jake on the show and we asked him about that, right? If all those things then happen, then potentially we get this crazy, $1,000 prediction that he's talking about. frankly, I'm not sure I want to see that because the world is going to have to go to shit for that to happen. I'd rather the world don't go to shit and we live with a $10 XRP than a $1,000 XRP, and people are fighting on the streets over food, right? So I don't want to see that happen either. So there's this fine balance, to be honest with you, Abs, of what we want to see and don't want to see, and again, that's it. So in a nutshell, exactly, it's thank you for the it's exactly right. It's a big if, and they all need to happen at once. So I don't think they're gonna all happen at once. I think they're gonna happen at different periods of time. So I don't know if Jake's theory is gonna come through, but if it does, hey, listen, if it comes through, then yeah, maybe we see crazy numbers. But anyway, so point being is, when I lived through this whole thing, and basically it was countries being able to get cheap money, borrowing from Japan, and then going out and putting it in higher countries, where you can earn more money through arbitrage. That same thing will happen. They'll just find a different country where rates are low right now, and they'll go borrow from that country, and then they'll put it in countries that are paying higher yield interest. Now, the bad thing about right now, what you see in the U.S., right, is Japan's rates are going up. So Japan was down here and the U.S. was up here, right? 5%. Japan was like 0. Well, now Japan's around 2. We're coming down. You could see we're closing that gap. So there's not going to be a lot of arbitrage to be made between buying Japanese bonds and then placing them, or buying U.S. bonds, right? Borrowing Japanese money. That's not going to happen no more. It'll be different countries. And so that'll be an interesting factor to see how that whole thing plays out. And that could have an impact on our economy as well, because Japanese won't be buying our bonds anymore. The question is, who will be? But this is where you hear this is where the genius potentially of Trump is, where he's saying, well, hey, okay, nobody's going to be buying our bonds, but we're going to switch them to stable coins, and we're going to have a stable coin, and they're going to be using that to buy U.S. bonds backed by U.S. stable coin. And then that's genius. Think about it, Abs. Then the U.S. government is backing its own bonds with obviously, money that's also printing. They'll print money and buy its own bonds through a stable coin, but at least the U.S. is in control of its destiny versus putting your control in the hands of another country. Right? Japanese is our single biggest owner of our U.S. bonds, and you don't want, dude, do you want somebody controlling the fate of your bank account, Abs? Think about it. That's like literally what we've done. We're like, here, Japan, here, China, you guys control our fate. Like, no, thanks. So to be honest with you, part of this unwinding, as much as it's going to be somewhat painful, I actually don't mind it if the end result is that we end up buying back those bonds with U.S. dollars and maybe in stable coins, but at least we would control our own destiny again. And for any country who wants to be sovereign, you need to control your own destiny. And you're on mute, my friend. Rookie mistake right there, but we'll let you know.
Listen, man, everybody gets one rookie mistake. That's my last rookie mistake of 2025. And I was going to say, if there's one thing we stay away from here, it's the support of China. We're Americans, guys. So shout out to the Americans out there. And we do have 4,500 listeners. I'd love to hear your thoughts in chat. Do you believe the Jake Claver trade is going to play out? 1's for yes, 2's for no. And there's a lot of speculation about this, Johnny, but the truth of the matter is we're going to witness this stuff play out in real time. So I'm going to shift gears just a moment here and highlight the topic of today's episode. I want to give a big thank you to Johnny. Now, Johnny, there actually is one thing I think you need to see in regards to what you had just stated. The Federal Reserve, people are speculating, and there's major reports, they're going to be buying $45 billion worth of bonds back every month for the first 6 months of 2026. If that doesn't create the perfect storm, this is exactly what Brad Garlinghouse was saying a couple of weeks ago, where Brad Garlinghouse, he was on stage at the Binance event. I think it was like 5 days ago, not even a couple of weeks. And he's like, 2026 from a macroeconomic standpoint is setting up to be the most bullish year for digital assets of all time. He didn't say this month or this year, whatever. He said of all time. And then I'm reminded of this statement that came out over the weekend by another Ripple executive. And this guy's name is Reese Merrick. I forget his exact position, but I'll tell you it right after. Quick reminder, we've never been in a better position heading into the new year. Now, some thoughts from my side. We've moved past the idea of regulation being a blocker. Clear frameworks are exactly what financial institutions need to move from exploration into implementation. And we're seeing major strides here globally. Now, crypto ETFs have seen steady accumulation with approximately $29 billion worth of net inflows into crypto ETFs this year. The hype, speculative flows have been replaced by sticky long-term institutional investors. And with multiple XRP ETFs being launched, showing clear institutional interest and approaching $1 billion in assets under management, financial institutions aren't looking to replace their stacks. they're looking to incorporate blockchain tech to improve payment settlement time, costs, and liquidity. It's an exciting time to be building at the intersection of crypto and TradFi, and well, with Ripple. And this is a Ripple employee here, and I'll give you his name. His official position. I just didn't have it pulled up on the screen. I believe he is the Senior Executive Officer and Managing Director for, I think it's the MENA region. Now, again, my computer's stalling, so that's my best guess for now. I'll get that exact data. Johnny, what are some of your thoughts here?
You know, at the end of the day, I think I couldn't agree more with all the comments he said there. First of all, yes, you are removing some speculative plays with more stickier long-term holding of these through the ETFs. And that'll take some stock off the shelf, right? As we talk about the store, and as the stock supply goes down, here we know, I love that analogy that you came up with, then the price continues to go up. I do believe there's some truth to that. The thing is, there's a lot of stock on the shelf, so it's going to take some buying of getting those removed. Everybody's like, well, I don't see the impact yet. Well, yeah, there's a lot of stock that needs to be bought still. But the point is, there are now vehicles out there that are allowing this stock to be bought off the shelf. So at some point in time, and I think somewhere in 2026, Q1 or Q2, I do agree also that that's when we're going to see the biggest boom in this market. So I'll be disappointed if we don't. That's my guess. I'm expecting that, and you shouldn't have expectations. It's not a good thing to have, but I have them. And I am expecting Q1 or Q2 to be big. I'm looking for some, because there's just so many things lining up. The debt cycle being redone 5th year instead of 4th year. Clarity Act coming. The Fed, as you just rightfully point out, buying back our funds, which, by the way, is something we probably should be doing, especially if Japan is going to be unwinding that trade abs. As they're unwinding it, if somebody's not buying those bonds, they're going to crash, and we don't want to see that happen. So they're going to print money and buy it, which means, I hate to say it, but what it really means at the end of the day is they're going to print money, buy our own bonds to hold us up, and that means our prices of our goods are going to go up. At the end of the day, eggs are going to cost more, gas is going to cost more. It's just the natural situation when you print more money. But I agree with all those things happening. But the biggest thing is, when the Clarity Act comes, there will still be speculation. And he literally said it. He says institutions are waiting. You saw it, right? You read it. And we've been saying on this show forever, institutions are waiting, and companies, Microsoft, Google, all those, they're waiting for the Clarity Act to come so that they can all start plowing in a ton of money and invest in that space. And that's speculation investing. Now, the smart money is good at speculating, but you're going to see a lot of speculation money come into this space. And I think all of that happens in 2026. And that's why I think, like, this is literally, and again, guys, I'm not a financial advisor, not financial advisor, but I really feel, and as you and I know, we've been buying. We've been very open and honest about it. This is a great time to be buying. We've been DCAing into a bunch of things right now, because we feel it's the right thing to do. And what better way to do that then, if you're like me and you don't want to pay taxes? Well, I'm going to tell you our formula, how we do it, right? First of all, yeah, you were a little early. We use Merlin. I use Merlin to set up all my exit targets, bring all my crypto in one place. I could see all my coins, see my value, and get alerts when it's time to sell. And where do I sell? Well, you might sell in your personal accounts. I sell right here in my retirement account, my IRA, my Roth IRA at ITrust Capital. Why do I do that, Abs? Well, you know why. I don't like paying taxes. And I know you don't like paying taxes either. And I know all our viewers out there don't like paying taxes. So what's the best way to avoid it? You open up a Roth IRA. You do all your trading inside the Roth IRA. And the great thing about ITrust Capital is they actually offer crypto. There's not too many IRA companies where you can actually buy crypto, right? So I can buy it in there. I can trade in there. I buy and sell all day long. I don't pay no taxes. And as long as I don't as long as I don't withdraw and the money's been in there over 5 years and I'm over 59 and a half, you pay zero taxes. So if you want to set your future up, even if you're a young gun like Abs, it still works for you, right? You can have a non-IRA account where you can go and trade all day and pay taxes. And then you can have a future one like I set up for my kids. They also have their future IRA that anything they do in it, and they're your age, right? So 30 years out from Abs, when you guys go and take out all that money you're going to build up, you literally are going, what did they say? Do you guys move all your crypto? No, I didn't move all my crypto. What I did was I have two accounts. I have a personal one, like a Coinbase or Kraken account that I trade today, non-IRA. And then I moved some of the money, yes, into a Roth IRA. I have two. You want to kind of have two. You have a non-IRA one that you can use now, right? And take money out and expend and whatever as it grows. And then you have a Roth IRA, which is beautiful for the future. Any growth in there, you're never going to pay any taxes on that thing. Can you imagine what XRP and Bitcoin's going to be 30 years from now if you're like 27, 28? Abs, can you imagine? And all that growth, if it's not in a Roth, guys, you're going to pay taxes on that growth. So why wouldn't you split it and put some in a Roth IRA using ITrust capital, and then you're going to pay zero taxes on that. So that's just how it works, guys. Click on the link below, sign up for Merlin, free 30 days, set yourself up, and then go get in a Roth ITrust capital account. Link is also below. Set that up. You can fund it with a minimum of like $1,000. And here's the best part. If you use our link, they will give you an additional $100, which does not account against your tax. You can only put about $7,000 to $8,000 per year into an IRA trust. So that's the formula, guys. That's how we do it. That's how we're setting ourselves up for generational tax-free wealth.
And more importantly, not even more importantly, great job, Johnny. I just mean to add on to that is that if you're above 50 years old, the spending limit, it's not $7,000, it's $8,000. That's something I actually learned last night. So if you're above 50 years old, you're not capped at $7,000, you're capped at $8,000. And the best part is if you click on the link below this video, you're going to start $100 completely free on us, on the Good Evening Crypto team. And I got to give a shout out to the people over there, Bryce and them. They've given us such positive feedback. You guys have been so supportive of this iTrust deal because they offer a great product. And I couldn't be more excited to have them as my first and really only partner for the time being, guys. Now, one other thing that we're going to break down, Johnny, the supply squeeze. Why is this so relevant for the XRP community? Because what happens? Retail gets it wrong. Now, that's an unfortunate truth about the crypto space, but when retail is bearish, you should probably be bullish. And when retail is bullish, you should probably be taking profits. And that's something we've said for a long time on our channel. Now, one of the things I've come to realize is that there are big investors out there like Tommy Lee, like Michael Saylor, who put these ridiculous price predictions out there. Like everybody remembers this, after the October crash. This is just, 8 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago now. Tom Lee called for $150,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin and a $7,000 ETH. Now, he's often wrong about the time frame here, but what he's been proven correct on since 2017 is that these projections do come correct given a long enough period of time. And I'm going to show you that right now. Crypto kings often call it right, but he's missing with the timing. Now, they called him the crypto king. I obviously disagree. March 2017, $25,000 Bitcoin is coming. The reality, that took 3 years. Now, in June of 2020, he said $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2021. The reality, that was November of 2024. Took 3 years. Now, in December of 2022, he said the bottom is in at 15,000. He actually got this one correct. So they're saying his track record for the direction, 95% positive. The timeline, 40%. So maybe we just look at the prices for the next year or bookmark this for 2027. Now, what is the clip they're playing? This is a very short clip here I'm going to play for you all. This is Tom Lee talking about what he's anticipating. Could we see this in the next 6 months? I don't think so, but I think it lets us know about the direction of the market. Here it is.
I want you to quit while you're ahead, but I have to ask you about Bitcoin. I mean, you want to go out on a limb there too? Because it looks weak again today, 107. Go below 100 or no?
Well, Bitcoin, I mean, if I look at everything since October 10th, because that was the biggest liquidation in the history of crypto, like bigger than FTX.
Like a margin call almost.
Yeah, it was like almost a miniature rupture, like a tsunami. We're only a couple weeks from that. So I think the market is consolidating. But if I look at fundamentals, like Ethereum, stablecoin volumes have been exploding, application revenues at all-time highs. So right now, fundamentals are leading price in crypto. So I think eventually we consolidate and then we rally into year end.
To 150?
Yeah, I think we can still get to 150, 200 for Bitcoin. And then something like 7,000 for Ethereum.
So guys, obviously that's not going to happen. I don't believe that. And I'm willing to say there's almost no shot of that. So what I think this guy is doing, and I'm just going to be transparent, right? We can say whatever we want. This is our channel. We're entitled to our thoughts. I think this guy's selling his book. I really think so. I think he's just putting these crazy price targets out there. So people who don't know anything about crypto get some FOMO, head into their Coinbase and buy some crypto. Or they call their broker and they say, I want the ETF. Or they say, can I get some staked Ethereum ETFs? That's what I think's going on. And so whether it's Michael Saylor or Tom Lee, I think these guys are selling the narrative in the short term for what they believe will happen in the long term. Mm-hmm. So we will see a $200,000 Bitcoin. Not this year. Johnny, floor is yours.
I couldn't agree with you more, Abs. I don't think we're going to see the $100 XRP, and I don't think we're going to see 180,000 Bitcoin this year.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
I hope you're pointing that to Tom Lee. I hope that's going to Tom Lee. I figured
somebody called for it in chat. They're like, Abs, how could you not play that clip right now? There you go.
Right. You need to, that was for Tom Lee, but I agree with you. Right. I don't think we're going to see any crazy price in December. I think November and December, we're going to look back at it And we're going to be happy because I think these are buying months. I mean, we've never seen the fear and greed almost this low. I think you've even pointed out it's never been this low, right? In a long time. To me, this is literally, these are the buying times, guys. These are the times when you're supposed to be, again, not financial advice. You got to do what you do. But for me and Abs, like, we're looking and going, these are the times I want to be heavy DCing in versus, other times where I may DCM, but very lightly. I'm going heavy right now. Any extra dollar I got, anything I can sell. We got rid of the cat. We got rid of the dog. We sold the truck. We got rid of everything. We put everything into crypto right now. Anything I can put in right now, because I feel like this is the calm before the storm. This is when I think all of the big boys and the institutions that can invest or who are willing to take the risk and invest right now are buying in. There's a reason why XRP keeps hitting $1.80 to $2 and won't go any lower, because somebody big or big institution, smart money, keeps buying them up and creating that floor. Look at that floor. I mean, dude, that's a solid freaking floor right there. It just keeps getting retested. Bang, bang, bang. It's been retested 1, 2, 3, 4 times already. It's been retested and holding up. It tells you, something is eating up through that, right? And so for me, I look at it as these guys are selling a narrative that they do believe is coming. The timing, they're all getting it wrong. I'm more of a believer of kind of more the Raoul Paul, where this thing's going to kind of sync with the debt recycling, which I think he called in Q1 or Q2. I believe that has the most realistic narrative of when you get risk on money coming in. Plus, when the Fed cuts rate, that creates risk on money. Plus, what else happens in March and April? Anybody know? Most people get their tax refunds. So you're going to get your tax money coming in. You got the Fed printing money. You've got the Clarity Act potentially coming. You've got the debt recycle. There's just so many things happening in that Q1, Q2 period. I personally think we're going to look back, Abs, and we're going to go, holy crap, why didn't I buy? What people are going to look back and say, why wasn't I buying more at $2 XRP or 80 to 90,000 Bitcoin or 3,000 Ethereum, right? When it's sitting at 7 or 8. I think people are going to look back and be a little angry at themselves, but I know we won't, right? We feel this is the right time to be buying. And retail, like you said, Abs, they usually get it wrong. They're not the smart money. That's why they're called retail and not called smart money.
Here's the truth of the matter too, guys, is that, and I've learned a lot in the last, it'll be 7 years in January that I've been in this space. And what I've learned is that a lot of times the people who are most critical are the ones who have their feelings hurt. Like, here would be a great example. If you own XRP, let's say you own 10,000 tokens, but you're saying bearish things and you're being very critical and you're like, how can you have a positive perception? How can you do this? How can you do that? Well, it's much more important that in the end, the bull wins. That's how it's always been. That's how it will go. If XRP survives through another liquidity cycle, we're going to see much higher asset prices. We're going to see the same thing for Bitcoin, same thing for ETH, same thing for Solana. The assets that survive will go up and to the right. But it's funny because people will come in here and they'll have this idea like, oh, because I'm negative, I've got it all figured out. Well, just to let you guys know, 14 months ago, Raoul Paul, Mark Yusko, all these people were insanely critical of XRP. They called XRP a meme coin. They said it was a stable coin. It had been under 50 cents for a year and a half. It was way below 2021 all-time highs. And that's when those people were proven wrong. Now we're looking at a time where we're in a quote-unquote pullback. We're in a bear market. We're sitting at the top of our 2021 support, and the retail investors are tapped out and the institutions are stepping in. Yeah. I'm going to tell you this, guys. I don't know the price any better than you do. I've been in this space. I'm just like you. I stare at the charts. I make my own conclusions here. The one thing that I know for sure, all the bears who are owning XRP and saying negative things, your hypocrisy's purest example. If you're not shorting, if you're not speaking your book, like one thing I will say, I buy XRP. I talk bullish about it because I'm fully transparent. That's how I feel on or off camera. Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not talking positively about XRP and shorting the token, and I'm not shorting the token. You're doing something that doesn't even make logical sense. So if you're bearish on XRP and you're extremely critical on the asset, cut your losses, move forward, be an adult, take ownership. If you know that this asset class is what we said, on its way to 10 trillion, 12 trillion, and eventually maybe $100 trillion market, then buckle in, double down, put a smile on your face, and get excited about what's about to take place. You are here before the masses. I don't care what anybody tells you. They say there's all these reports, 7%, 8% of people own digital assets globally. I think it's way lower than that number. I really do. When I talk to people, when I walk through the airport, when I'm out in public, nobody talks about crypto. Nobody owns these things. So there will be a day and age in the next 5 or 10 years where everyone does. And we're starting to witness that onboarding process. And hopefully our community, the people who are logical and, not just emotional, not just overly dramatic. Nobody feels bad for you, man. A lot of people need to look in the mirror and say, nobody feels bad for me, right? You can cry on live chats all day, but we are optimistic and we're on this journey together. So hopefully that speech kind of rallies the troops, I guess, and makes a lot of sense. If you're bearish, be bearish. If you're bullish, be bullish. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't own the token and talk about, oh, I know it's going to 50 cents. Then why are you buying at $3 in March, right? So there you go, guys. Shout out to you. That's pretty. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well said, Abs. No doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, I will give, our audience, they got a very, they have a very sharp memory. They don't forget stuff. Look what Charles said. He remembers when we had Jake on the show. He said 99% chance that we'd hit $100 by 12/31. Again, those were his words, not ours. But the point being is, like, people don't forget, right? People remember. But here's the thing. People also need to not hang their hat. I mean, the first one, Abs and I will tell you this all the time. Guys, don't hang your hat on any influencers, what they're saying, right? We're just being honest with you and telling you what we believe the most realistic, or what we believe is realistic, right? We could be right. We could be wrong. Jake could be right. He could be wrong. You cannot be sitting here and like watching one influencer and go, oh, he said it's going to be that, so I'm going to gamble. Well, you can gamble on that, but you need to understand you're gambling on that, right? You're taking that risk of what that one person thinks, and don't be pissed if he's wrong, because you made the decision to follow that person, not him. He's just telling you information. It's up to everybody, Abs, to do their own research and realize, hey, is this guy really credible? Does this narrative really make sense? I got to get going. I've got another meeting here at 12. My other meeting got canceled, so I was happy to join you for a little bit. But the reality is, people need to understand that you own your portfolio. You own all the decisions you make. You can't blame Jake. You can't blame the only person I blame when I make a bad investment, Abs, is myself. Because I either listened to the wrong person, or I didn't do enough research. I got lazy. I wanted the quick gamble, right, and not go too deep, or I didn't have the right profit plan. And at the end of the day, that's my fault. I have to look in the mirror at myself. So I just encourage everybody, watch all the shows, get your opinions, and then make your own decisions on what you think is going to happen. Now, Abs, you know how I feel about this industry. I think we're at the very beginning of it. I didn't drop the soap. I might have dropped the foam, but not the soap. But I wish I had some soap. We could have used that on this past weekend. It was a little chilly out there, But anyway, the story being this: at the end of the day, we all know we're at the infancy of something big. Abs, I agree with you totally. Like the number you're hearing right now is about 7% of people are invested in crypto. But when you look deep, see, this is what I talk about doing your research. When you look deeper into that, what you learn is that's wallets. And what we all know is people have multiple wallets. And so the reality is, that number is probably more like half. It's probably about 3 or 4, maybe even arguably 5% of the world is invested in crypto today, guys, which means there's still a whole lot of people to come in. There's a whole lot of money to come in. And that is the gamble that I'm betting on, right? Is that more money's coming in, because what do we say all the time? This is zero-sum game markets, right? You can only take out what money gets put in the pot. The more money that comes in, the more money you can take out. But the problem is, for the one guy who's taken out, there's another guy that's losing for everybody that's winning. So you have to understand that's how the game is played. That's why you need to have a profit plan. That's why you sign for Merlin. Get a link below. And also, we're going to get a shout out to the heart. I'm going to call her the heart lady. She has the most hearts in the game, Bailey. Because of your hearts, just so you know, I wore this shirt, and I call it the Bailey Blue shirt just for you.
Absolutely, guys. And another thing to note is that here's how I like to look at content creators too, because I watch everybody, and I watch, Zach, Mickle, Jake, everybody, Coach JV, Digital Asset Investor, Bearable Bull, Digital Perspectives, Crypto Airy, Lewis Jackson. I was watching a lot of Lewis Jackson this weekend. Paul Barron, another one. What I like to do is I like to view them almost as like you would look at a sports commentator, where Stephen A. Smith, he's from New York, right? He's going to be pro New York Knicks. You're going to have other people who are from LA. They're going to be rooting for, the Los Angeles Lakers. You got your Boston representatives rooting for the Patriots. Kind of the same idea with these crypto influencers. If you're watching a bunch of different content creators who have different mindsets, I think you're going to get closer to the truth, right? Because nobody has all the answers. But one of the things I've completely realized is that people like Paul Barron are a great example of why you guys should be so confident in the XRP ledger. Because Paul Barron was a man who only liked Bitcoin, covered Ethereum, did some NFTs, things of that nature. The reality is he came to the XRP ledger because he sees all the developments taking place right now. And I think a lot of people are going to come to that same conclusion. Sal Gilberti, he's going to be joining the show in 10 days. We're also going to have Matt Hogan from Bitwise joining the show in 11 days. Both of these guys just joined the XRP community 18 months ago. These are the Wall Street people who were never here before. I've watched this community evolve before our very eyes. And I think a lot of people here, you're probably showed up in the last 5 years. It's great because over the next 5 years, I know what's going to happen, Johnny. There's going to be people out there who said, wow, you were buying $2 XRP the same way that even though XRP was just 50 cents a year ago, I have people constantly say, wow, you got 22-cent XRP. How'd you even do that? Well, during 2021, when there was, and excuse my language here, a shitstorm on the XRP community, for lack of a better term, using the Johnny Krypto lingo, I remember how chaotic, how catastrophic it was. And I was clicking buy, and I was so uncertain about the future. I was buying that 17, 22-cent XRP, not thinking I had it all figured out, but just kind of hedging my bets, putting my money where my mouth is. Same kind of situation right now. $2 iron wall. We're teetering there. We got the ETFs going live. We got the Clarity Act coming in. All these different narratives, the liquidity cycle, the interest rates, and now we watch. And I think that's kind of a great way to summarize and end this episode. We have 8,300 live listeners, guys. If you enjoyed this content, show us some love. Smash that like button. Are we influencers? I've literally never said that. Johnny Krypto would love to be. Let's be honest. Johnny Krypto.
No, I don't know if we're influencers or not. That's up to the people to decide. I agree with you totally, Abs. I remember when I got started, I was watching a bunch of different influencers, Bearable Bull, BC Backer, Coach Davey, and the list goes on and on. And then I would kind of put, like you said, gather all the different information I'd hear from all of them and kind of put it together. And then I would also do something else. I would also track when I thought, like I would track what they'd say and then see who's accurate. And the ones that seemed to be the more accurate, I would tend to follow them more. Right. And so that's, I think, the only thing you could do. Right. And so, yeah, we always take the high road and humble on this. And I don't know if you got a chance to show a screenshot. Maybe you did of our video running into the water. If you guys haven't seen it and you want to see behind the scenes for Black Friday, make sure if you're not a member, click the join button below, become a member, and you get to see all of the future behind the scenes stuff of whenever we get together. We'll probably have another get together, hopefully maybe in January, February, me and Abs. But if you missed it, if you want to see those behind the scenes, become a member, support the channel. We're trying to help Abs get to 1,000 members. So smash the like button, join if you want to support the membership of the channel, and we try to give you some funny behind the scenes footage that nobody else gets to see. But Abs, I love you. I got to run.
We're going to end the show right now anyways, guys. Big thank you to Johnny Krypto. Shout out to all of our live listeners. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button. Leave some thoughts underneath the video, guys. I am in Florida traveling today. I've got a flight home tonight. I'm going to try to get a video published. If there's no 5:30 video, it's because I'm traveling. I might hit the beach and enjoy the day, with my girlfriend.
He deserves it, right, folks? Shouldn't he go to the beach and enjoy today? Because the beach down there is a lot warmer than the beach that we were up there. Abs, enjoy the beach. I'm sure the community won't be upset with you if you don't make a 5:30 video today. You deserve it, my friend. You're one of the hardest working influencers in the world.
Thank you. I actually really appreciate that, especially coming from my man, Johnny Krypto. But again, guys, I don't consider myself an influencer. I really don't. I'm a nerd who makes videos on the internet. People resonate with some of that content. Maybe I don't look like a nerd. My personal life, all I do is study crypto all day. It's funny. My brothers were making fun of me because they love football. They love all this other stuff. All I talk about is crypto. They're like, listen, dude, we got to diversify the conversation at these family events. You can't just come in spewing crypto all over the place. But that's the reality, guys. We love you guys.
I just thought of, Abs? If you ever do decide to become an influencer, I got a great name for you. You should call it the Crypto Nerd. There you go.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Guys, listen. I'm the Oracle of Truth. That nickname was given to me by the Mickle community. So if I'm going to be a quote-unquote influencer, label me the Oracle of Truth. That one sounds much better than the Crypto Nerd, my friends. But we love you guys. We appreciate you all. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, and we'll see you all in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
But the challenge, as you know well, is the U.S. has had this very hostile. The Biden administration has been waging a war on crypto, and I think an unlawful war. Courts have agreed with us on that. And we're finally seeing that kind of unlocked in a Trump embraced crypto, and crypto embraced Trump.